breaks your StreamYard account, so that you can't go live at the appointed time. But then, through crossing of fingers and the calling of the god that is Darwin Núñez, the stream magically comes back so we can suddenly go live when nobody else can. It's us, the Thursday Night Podcast from American Scouts TV. Ask the Spinapit if you're one of the cool kids. And tonight, StreamYard is definitely not one of the cool kids. So for those of you who may be watching or are still with us, it's great to have you here 12 minutes after we initially tried to start the podcast. But we're here because we're determined, and we've had our technological break, so it was StreamYard's turn tonight. Brian, how are we?
Doing great.
It's been a good week for you, hasn't it?
Absolutely. Been a great week. If anybody doesn't know right there, missed my dog for about almost 2 weeks right there. She came back. She's a little injured, but hey, she's alive and she's in good spirits.
Trevor, how are you?
With the technological day I've been having, seeing it just continue on to break through, it just makes me feel good.
What prompted you to give Brian his dog back?
I will not accept such slander. I would never kidnap anybody's animal, regardless of any sort of circumstance.
I think we could all believe that. But here is what we're going to talk about tonight. It is the last week of Klopp as Liverpool manager.
You're going to have Saidu sick on me. Come on, man.
Well, that's true. A nice welcome to Saidu. And the appropriate response initially from Alan, Mayday, because that's exactly what happened. It all fell apart for us. But here's what we're going to...
The second one could be why StreamYard is off. Like Houston.
That's it. Yeah, Alan broke StreamYard with his meteorological predictions and reports. We're not equipped for weather reports.
This is why you don't get plants
on American. Yeah, that's exactly it. Right? You just overwalk them with your Houston floods. But here's what we'll talk about tonight. The last week of Klopp. We're going to miss him. We're going to talk basically about what he means to us and what impact he has had on us personally, apart from the soccer stuff, the trophies I'm in. And we'll talk a little bit about Slot and what we're expecting from him, because that is the second worst kept secret in soccer, Slot being the next Liverpool manager after Mbappe going to Real Madrid. And then we'll look ahead to the game at the weekend, probably a bit more than we usually do, because it can be more emotional than tactical. I don't think anybody here or anybody in the American Scouser universe really cares what the score will be or how we play or who gets picked. It's going to be all about one man at the final whistle and nothing more. So let's start first talking about this chap here, Jurgen Klopp. What an absolute fantastic reign he's had as Liverpool manager. We've had some false starts before. We've had some trophy success as well, but not as much as this man. He has done what we hoped, and I say this just as an old fogey, what Gerard Houllier would have led us to, minus the heart issues that he had. A long period of trophy-winning success. I think it works out as a trophy every 2 years. For Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool, which is a fantastic return. But more importantly, he did what he said in the very first press conference. He turned doubters into believers. So we'll start with you, Brian. What does Jurgen Klopp mean to you?
I sit there and thought about this over the past week right there, knowing that this is the last week that we're going to have somebody who really got us. I mean, we had Brendan Rodgers right there right before him, who never really got who we were as a supporters or as a ethos right there. Klopp took to us as soon as he came through there. I felt at home with him as soon as he came through. It seemed like there was a connection that was bound to be made right there. I don't think there's any other manager that could have been with us during this period. That whole statement, I'm going to turn you from doubters to believers. I mean, that just epitomized what Klopp did for us as a fan base. So, means a lot to me right there. I think that, this is going to be a tough Sunday right there. I was just talking to my wife about it. She was like, man, his last time right there, it's like you go into things you don't think that a Bears is going to last forever. Kind of like the way that you said that Man United supporters probably thought about Sir Alex right there, that he was going to be there forever. He's going to be that guy and stuff like that. We're starting brand new and fresh. And it seems like this 9 years was like a fucking 20 years or 30 years, it seemed like right there. It just seemed like it was just a perfect fit. So it's going to be sad seeing Jurgen go. But I mean, things change, life moments happen, things are gonna people go different directions. We all of us have been in different jobs, all of us have done different things to our lives and stuff like that. Our most important thing to remember what Klopp brought to us and brought to the league, brought to the supporters, brought to everybody out there. He was an enigma. He was an enigma, and that's all I can really say. And I think that the whole league, England's going to miss Klopp. England's going to miss Klopp.
Trevor, Brian talks about, we had Brendan Rodgers before him. And then we had Kenny, who's obviously Mr. Liverpool. I don't care what anybody says about Gerrard. Kenny Dalglish, as far as I'm concerned, is the best thing that ever happened to Liverpool. Shading Bill Shankly just by a tad. But the thing about Brendan Rodgers was it was almost like he fell for the idea that Liverpool fans were super knowledgeable, which Liverpool fans always had the reputation for. So he talked to Liverpool fans as if we were all coaches. But Jurgen Klopp really got the heart of Liverpool, didn't he? It's an emotional club. It's a club built on the moments of the game. David Fairclough scoring that goal as the super sub. Kenny Dalglish scoring in his first European final with that solitary goal and that celebration. Also, the sad moments, Heysel and Hillsborough, the death and the retirement, and then the far too early death of Bill Shankly. It's a very emotional club. It's a club that's a club for the heart, and it's seen in the song that we sing before and after every game. So, whilst Brendan Rodgers may have thought it was an intellectual pursuit, Jurgen Klopp really got the emotion and the heart of what it means to be a Liverpool fan from the first second, didn't he?
And it's something that it is a absolute tractor beam in my eyes to this club. And it's not what initially got me in, and I'll tell that story at some point someday. But either way, like you say, just the aura and the ethos of the club is something that needs to just be addressed by so many different levels. And I think Jurgen Klopp was the perfect person to kind of embody all of that and Rodgers came in, and he came in with good intentions, and he was somebody that was trying to in a way that I can put it, he was a wrestling promoter that wanted to really just go towards the internet fans, where it's like, hey, you want to know what this is? Do you want to know why this guy beat this guy, and so on and so forth? He was more involved with that, where Jurgen Klopp was just going, why are you watching this? What is your emotional attachment to this? I'm going to grasp that, and we're going to go down this path, and we're going to get people that really embody this. And I'm going to make sure that through the highs and the lows of my tenure here, that everybody is going to just be along for the ride. And that's something that I will never forget, because it sounds cheesy from the outside that people really latch on to the "you'll never walk alone" thing, and kind of my European fan base, my fan spider web has kind of gone through that song. And the fact that he was coming from Borussia Dortmund, a team that also kind of adopted that in their own right, and him coming in, just kind of having that in the back of his head, going, this is a club that not only cares about winning, it cares about its fans, it cares about its people, it cares about so much more than what is happening on the pitch, that I just from his first couple press conferences, I knew it was a fucking home run. I just you got that feeling immediately that he was somebody that just got it, and that seems so just rudimentary and simplistic. A guy that just got it, but he just more than anything, through all of these times and with everything that we've been with him, highs and lows, I've never felt a disconnect from Jurgen at any point.
Brian, just to kind of go back to Brendan Rodgers a little bit, because as I said, when he came in, he was almost like an intellectual, cerebral kind of coach, part of that new breed at the time. There you go, Alan, there's your plans for you. Courtesy of Houston flooding, maybe water. Hopefully there's nobody injured in that, so because otherwise that's going to be a very bad joke to just made. But Brendan Rodgers comes into Liverpool probably way before his experience would merit it, but he certainly had the coaching chops to be in the conversation in 2012-13. But he's gone back to Celtic after leaving them for Leicester and leading Leicester to some measure of success, and is, just for somebody who follows along with what happens at Celtic, his tone coming back into Celtic was exactly what Jurgen Klopp's tone was coming into Liverpool. It was all about the emotion. It was all about, like, I left badly the last time, but I'll see you back here in May and we'll have the league championship, which happened yesterday. Sometimes, no matter how, as Trevor says, your good intentions are, sometimes a coach is just right. He's the right person with the right amount of experience and the right personality for that right club. And Jurgen Klopp was all of those, wasn't he?
Absolutely. I think that, again, he didn't really he couldn't pass us by. He saw the job was available right there. And I mean, the story goes when he's telling his wife right there that it came available and he just couldn't let it go. I mean, he said, we have to do this, and it was like, even he was going to take his hiatus from Dortmund. I mean, so, again, there's certain clubs that suit certain people right there. I think we've had the conversations right there on different podcasts about a Mourinho, if he ever came to this club, or somebody, or Ancelotti, somebody like that. People right there who don't fit this club. I mean, this club is an emotional freaking rubber band. I mean, if you want to think about it, all of us are just like on pins and needles. We had highs, lows. We've gone through so many different emotions and matches. I mean, Champions League 2005. I mean, that is epitomizes what a Liverpool supporter is. I mean, we watched everything go there. We watched we watched this go to shit in the first half, come back in 6 minutes right there, and it was like on cloud nine, I mean, it was, and to see, that's what we are. I mean, we've always been that way. That's what attracts so many people to our club. It's not the silverware, of course it's silverware, but it's not that. It's everybody I've ever talked to right there, as a supporter base right there, is the same way. You go talk to a Man United supporter, it's not the same way. You go talk to a Chelsea supporter, not the same way. Arsenal, not the same way. I mean, we're just different. We're different than everybody else. I mean, I hate to sound like Trevor said, cheesy or anything like that, but we are. We're just not the same. There's like a emotional connection that we have to everything, to the tragedy, to the highs, to the lows that all of us in this club chose. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, and so Brendan didn't get all that. He came there and got part of it. He got the winning mentality, us going through the streak to 78 to 90 to 84. He got that part right there. That winning. He didn't get the part that he didn't get the tragedies. He didn't get the what we were as a whole. he got the winning, he didn't get the downside. And I think that Klopp got that. He experienced that right there. He saw all these things right there. There's no hard feelings with Brendan. I wish Brendan the best of luck right there in whatever he does and stuff like that. I mean, I'm glad he can't win with Celtic because I'd rather see them when the Rangers win. But I mean, that's just me. But Brendan wasn't right for us. Klopp was.
Muted.
There you go. Yeah, see, it's gone full circle now. It's back to me, and then it'll be Brian by the end of the night, and then it'll be you before it's out.
Don't worry, my internet will probably crap out. It's fucking raining here, so
there you go.
I'm sure I'll at some point.
And Alan is also psychic. But here's what my question is. There is a degree in Liverpool culture, certainly in Anfield culture, of a humility, a sort of humble arrogance, actually be a better way to put it. Like Manchester fans, there's a whole culture in Manchester. It's a huge, arrogant kind of. If you look at it's a weird way to explain it, but if you look at Oasis, the band, and how they came on the scene in the 90s, in the mid 90s, they were literally the best thing since sliced bread. That was kind of like a Manchester mentality. Whereas the Anfield mentality is almost like, we know we're good, but we're not going to tell everybody about it. You're going to have to find out the hard way. To the extent that there was at one point a culture of not wearing Liverpool colours to games. You just wore your normal clothes, or you wore almost like a mod thing, the fashion of the time, and not to show your colours because you're there as a Liverpool fan, not as a Liverpool supporter, not as a fan, like a day fan, so to speak. So there is a different culture around Liverpool Football Club that isn't like maybe Celtic Football Club or Barcelona, where it is a bit more than just the soccer part. Jurgen Klopp had that humility when he came in, didn't he? But also that little bit of arrogance. He didn't have the Jose Mourinho, which is why he would never have worked as a Liverpool manager, of coming in and saying, I'm one from the bottle, I'm a special one, wouldn't have worked. His first thing was, I'm the normal one. I'm one of you guys. And that's really what he was. That's why we're not so cut up. There you go. But that's why, as sad as we are, I don't know if there's any bitterness about the fact that he's leaving, because we know he's just a guy like us. He just happens to have the job of managing the best club in the world. And it's wore him out as that kind of. So we're not really in a situation where we don't want him to go anywhere else and then be bitter about it. But do you think that humility was such a huge part of that connection from the first second?
Yeah, I'm just sitting here. I feel like a parrot at this point, because everything that you just said is what I feel when it comes to Jurgen Klopp. He's a guy that came in and had a good sense of the situation that he was coming into, but not with that arrogance of, yes, I'm going to come in and I'm going to, quote unquote, fix things, but it's not going to be all about me. It's going to be, I'm going to reinforce the culture that we have here. We're going to make sure that everybody that comes in and goes out, that there's going to be that balance restored that was kind of lost for a bit of time after Rafa left, and just the hullabaloo that followed after him. It's weird to say in just the spectrum of professional sports, of a guy that, like you said, there's just that like measured humility, but also that calculated arrogance, where you go, I know that I am the person to fix this, but I know it's not going to be all me. I know I'm going to have good people around me. I know that there's going to have to be people in the front office that go get the right players to fit my system. I know that there's going to be people on the training ground that have to mold these these people that are coming into a collective that works under this banner. And when things go wrong, I am going to have to find ways to fix it. And if I can't, I'm going to have to delegate to somebody who can. And I think it should have been a bit of writing on the wall for when he was going to announce his departure, with the fact that he became more and more passing the buck, so to speak. Jurgen was never a guy that was just against giving the referees their once over. But this past probably year and a half, I think it got more into the fact where he was looking for answers and he knew that he didn't have them anymore and just defaulted to shifting the blame instead of taking it on himself. And I think a bit of self-introspection on his part, once that started happening, he goes, "Oh no, wait, this is not me. This is not what I bring to the table. This is not my ethos. If I am becoming this person, it's probably time for me to go." And as much as we didn't want to see it coming, because a lot of us were blindsided, and I'm not going to say like I'm that person is like, "Oh, I saw this coming," because I did not in any way, shape, or form. But if you look back at it with a bit of hindsight, you can kind of put the puzzle pieces in there and go, this isn't as big of a shock as it is just at face value. And now we've kind of got all of it together, and we're just going to make the most of this last game, and then we're going to move forward.
Brian, had last season ended a lot better, maybe with a trophy, like a proper tilt at the league title, rather than the start-stop sputtering season it was, is it possible, do you think, that Klopp would have got to the end of the season and said, "Okay, now I'm done"? But he gave us this one more season just to right the ship and end on a high rather than end with whatever last season was.
I mean, I think he's tired. You can see it. I mean, you can see at one point right there, it's like you run out of ideas. You run out of you go and think about things like that. It's like what interview he's talked about, said that they start talking about what the plans are for preseason, and and all these things like that. And it's like you go to a point, you're like, man, do I feel like I want to do this anymore? Do I have the energy to do this? I do, but can I give 100%? No. And it's like you come across people out there that can't give 100%. They're not going to. They said, "I can't do this because I can't devote everything to this." Klopp could devote everything to this club after this season. I think he gave everything possible that he could think of to give, to go there to right this ship, to start a new recruitment, to lay the new tracks down for somebody else to do right there, and like you said, leave on a high. But I mean, I still think that if even if we won the league last year or finished higher, won a trophy, I still think this is probably Klopp's time. I mean, he re-upped twice. I mean, in that time right there, it was probably, it ran its course. I mean, it's like players that run their course. It's like anything that runs their course. You get to a point right there where it's like, can we go any further with what we're doing now? No. And then what do? Then you just keep on doing it right there and just beating a dead horse? No, you don't. You stop. You say, hey, guess what? I've given everything I can. I can't do it anymore. And I hope he has a good sabbatical. I think that that this will be a good time for him to relax. And maybe one day we'll cross paths with Jurgen again with us again. It'd be a wonderful thing. Or maybe it won't right there. But I just want him to appreciate that he's appreciated by all of us for what he gave all of us.
Alan talks about Big Ange at Spurs, and he's aged almost the same amount as Klopp has in the space of not even one full season. But I think that's more because he's the Spurs manager and not for the length of time.
I went with Levy too. I went with Levy's circus too.
But Trevor, that goes back to what Brian said earlier. We look at clubs like Spurs, we look at what's happening at Manchester United, we look at how Chelsea took so long to get their stuff going and get their train running. There's just a difference about Liverpool Football Club that if you were going to be the manager of Liverpool Football Club, you have to get that culture, you have to get that tone and that philosophy, and you have to be one of the supporters almost before you're the manager. Do you agree? To add a question onto
it. You froze up a bit on me.
Brian, what did you do with my signal?
But I'm gonna go from where my thoughts on the big clubs in Europe and their fandoms generally. There's a lot of entitlement that comes from the top six in England because there's kind of just this thing that there's going to just always be prosperity there forever, and a lot of things get taken for granted, and teams are always just like, whoa, we're in the big six, we're going to go win something every year, and the ones that don't have to kind of answer to why they didn't. But the thing that I love the most about Liverpool as both a club and a fan base is there's always a bit of just a critical thought process about it, of just looking at it through a lens of, all right, this was a transition year, or this was something where these things happened and there was X and Y injuries, or this, and you kind of look at it from a perspective of this went south because of these certain things, and you can kind of just not accept it because you're always going to be just disappointed or aggravated with the way things fall apart, especially with us, how the way this end of season went, going from a quad to a single real quick. That's a lot of that's 3 blown out tires in about 4 weeks. That's not great, but we can look at it through the lens of there's reasons why this kind of went this way. We were punching above our weight in a lot of ways, and things that could have gone our way that didn't. It was not necessarily meant to be, but you can kind of look back now and go, all right, we had these things in our grasp and we lost them. There's only so much you can do, and especially with the way that we play. Yeah, I want to come at it from a place of I was, because in most of my fandom I'm very pessimistic, but I try to keep my optimism with this club a lot of times. So when things fall apart, you're just like, oh well, we're on to the next one, and then when that blows up, you kind of have to just stick and move. I think this is very long-winded answer short. There's a lot of other clubs in the top six that view failure as a full stop of, oh God, this is the worst thing that ever happened. Fire everybody, sell everybody. This is the worst. Whereas a lot of times, at least I think on this channel, we kind of piecemeal reasoning and try to just not accept it, but dissect why these things happen.
Brian, in terms of the next manager which we'll get to, that connection is going to be expected just as much as we got it from Klopp. Is the manager on a hiding to nothing? Let's just say it's Slot because it doesn't seem to be anybody else. Is Slot on a hiding to nothing if he comes in like Brendan and tries to talk intellectually rather than coming in like Klopp and saying, I'm here for you guys, I'm here for the fans?
I don't. If you talk to a Feyenoord supporter, Slot has a lot of the same type of characteristics that Klopp has. He's very much into the fan base. He's a people's person. I think that that we're not getting a Brendan Rodgers out of Slot. We're getting a person who is more attack minded, more that same type of thing we got with Klopp. But also we have to go and take out the whole vision that Klopp had and what his roles were with Liverpool versus what Slot's roles are going to be. It's not the same thing. Slot is going to be the head coach. Hughes and Marquise and those guys right there are going to be the ones who are going to run the footballing business. Slot's going to go with their man, is going to run the process. He's going to coach the team. That's what we need to expect out of him right there. I just don't want all of us to, because we can crush people very quickly with our fan base, with the expectations. I just wanted to give the guy time. I want him to. This is a whole different realm for him from going to a Feyenoord to Liverpool. I mean, it's a lot. It's a massive jump right there. We talked about the same thing about Amaran. We talked about the same thing about most managers right there. This isn't like a small club. This is massive. I mean, your expectations right there can crush you. Can crush you more than the fan base can crush you. So let's just give the guy time right there. But I do think that that Slot does have the capability of wanting a connection with his fan base. I mean, look at his last match with Feyenoord right there. He walked around and he walked around the pitch right there, applauding them. He getting applauded back right there. They knew this is his last time ever to see him at their club, and they showed their appreciation for him right there. He won a title for them. He did things for them right there. And I think that this could be a pretty good marriage right there that we have with him, for be it temporary or be it for 5 years or 10 years right there. I mean, I'm more leaning toward the side that this is not a long-term relationship right there. If I've talked to other people about the same thing. I think that Slot's coming in. I think that he's going to fill a role for maybe about 5 years, and I think something else is going to happen.
Let me ask you, Brian. You say about giving him time, but he's been given a team that finished third, and disappointingly didn't get to the last day. I think we're all disappointed. We may understand the reasonings, but we were a team that had it in our hands to win the league this year, or to at least be in the conversation on the last day. So we definitely are going to give him time, but where do you draw the line? Because I remember Brendan Rodgers getting absolute pelters in November of his first season before we got Sturridge Coutinho, that he wasn't the right man for Liverpool. And had he been ditched then, we wouldn't have got 13-14, which showed that Liverpool could compete, which probably was part of the attraction for Jurgen Klopp. Whereas had we been down near the relegation zone like we were under Hodgson, that might not have been the case. There might have been too much work to do. So how much leeway do we give Arne Slot going into the next season? Like, what are our minimal expectations of where he finishes the season?
Is that for me or for Trevor?
For you.
For me, Okay, I think that it's a whole different situation what he's inheriting because I mean, again, he's inheriting a very good side. I mean, again, like finished third, already won silverware this year. Totally different thing than what Brendan Rodgers was inherited. You know, that mess that he got right there off of Hodgins. I mean, that he had to work with. I mean, it was pretty bad. I mean, I kind of and I thought that Brendan deserved the time that he did too. The problem with Brendan was right there was it goes back to this documentary thing that happened, and that's the start of it. And then honestly, Brendan should have been going after the Stoke match. That should have been done. I mean, you lost the match 7-0 against Stoke. I mean, I'm sorry. He it happened for a reason because if we would have got rid of him then, we would have had Klopp now. But I think that there are totally different things right there with it. I think that Brendan right there we gave Brendan the patience and the time right there with him, even though some people were pretty like, what's he doing and all that. But if Arne Slot starts off with a problem with this side right there, of course we're going to be critical because as supporters you're supposed to be critical of your squad. But we still have to understand that he has put his footprint, that his thumbprint on the side, even though I think this is a side is developed for him to take over. And I think that they did their work prior to coming there and hiring him about what the players are and what they are used to playing with. Because again, I don't think Amar, as much as we talked about Amaran again earlier, right there, when that whole rumor mill was going around, the players we had to have shifted. We didn't shift and move some players. Of course, I think we're probably to shift and move a couple players here, but the majority of our squad is meant to have a fast-paced, counter-attacking squad, and I think that we have that right there we have that which is Slot's playing style. I think we're good. I think that he's not going to. He's going to take off running with this side. Are we going to go compete for the title next year? I don't know. I mean, it depends. I mean, it depends on what happens with the league. I mean, and stuff like that. It depends on injuries. Depends on everything that goes with it. I do think that we're going to be that we are going to challenge just as much as we did this year, and I think that we're not really moving any key pieces of our squad right now. So I mean, we have everything together. The only thing that we're moving are pieces that have never played. Thiago, injury people. Petit, who was injured for about half the season. I mean, so I think we're okay. I think we'll be fine.
Trevor, if we look at Chelsea, they were obviously the Manchester City of their time, but they chopped and changed managers like it was going out of fashion, yet still maintained a level of success and Champions League qualification. Let's say Arne Slot doesn't go past top six. He doesn't drop out of the top six all season, and we're in the conversation at the very least for a Champions League spot. Doesn't win any trophies, maybe gets to the quarters or the semis of the Carabao Cup, maybe goes out in the sixth round, quarterfinals of the FA Cup, say. But on the last 3 games, we're competing for a Champions League spot and we don't get it. Are you happy with that first season but wanting more for the following one? Or would you look at the squad that he's been given and whatever additions we get and go, could have been a bit better?
I think barring massive departures, and we've talked ad nauseum about Mo's potential leave. I don't think there's any reason for top 4 not to be the expectation. And seeing the title push with just how we know that Arsenal and City are going to reload coming into this next season, I'm not coming in with expectations of a title challenge. And yeah, that word expectations was something that kind of morphed over the course of this season, because I don't think any of us were coming in going, "Oh, we're gonna go win this title and we're gonna run away with it." There was never in my mind at any point, even when things were kind of in a decent pole position, thinking that this was something that Liverpool had locked up. For Slot's first season, I just want them to. I want to see commitment. I want to see guys that he comes in with a system, and it's something that he doesn't waver from, and that everybody that's here now or that comes in buys into it, and regardless of the outcomes in all competitions, I want there to just be some. And the way that Alan brought up Big Ange earlier, Spurs are a mess, but you can't fault them for not committing to what Ange Postecoglou wants to do. So I want there just to be and we'll talk about the deployment of players in certain positions over the course once we kind of get that down. But I just kind of want there to be that buy-in. I don't want there to be just unrest between the new regime and the old regime, where people come in going like, oh, that's not the way we did it. And I just want there to kind of be a synergy with the manager, where just everybody goes, the reason he's asking me to do this is because this is going to be the best thing for both me, the club, and just everything going forward. And those who have noted resistance to it gotta go.
Brian, let's kind of just quickly, before we move on to the game for the weekend, you talked about that Arne Slot has a different role than Jurgen Klopp. He is just the head coach. He's responsible purely for training, tactics, technique, motivation, team selection. Probably has some sort of veto on who stays and who goes. You'd imagine a manager does get some say in that, so they don't end up with players they don't want. But my fear is, because I'm still not sold on him. As good as the data people are, my fear is that Michael Edwards is too egotistical to keep his hands off, and that Arne Slot could become just a puppet for Michael Edwards' own ideas, because he doesn't have the coaching badges to be the manager of Liverpool Football Club. Am I wildly wrong in conspiracy theory land, or is there a sense that they came back because Klopp was too strong a personality for Michael Edwards to deal with?
I mean, Galley and Bickler, myself, a whole bunch of other people had that same theory like that going on, that the reason that the whole breakup happened on there was because there was something in the back room that didn't agree. And it was Klopp and Edwards was a big part. And look how long, that you're having all these guys are going back into the fold right now. It had to have been something with decision making and stuff like that. Can Edwards go there? If Edwards gets this wrong, it's on Edwards. But I think that Edwards right there, the way his role, it seems like it is about the entire FSG footballing world, which means getting another club and have a feeder club and having that club work alongside us to bring talent up and to make money for FSG. In the big picture right there, it's all about making money. We all know that. I mean, every professional sport's about making money and all that, and FSG is no different than any other owner right there. But I think that, does Edwards have a chance to go out there and messing this up? Sure, he does. I mean, but and again, right there, if he messes up, I hope that that he's held accountable for messing up. But I do think that this model is something that Slot is used to working under, or they would have chosen. He knows what his limitations are, what his say is. I mean, honestly, transfers are Hughes. Hughes is going to go there, is going to take care of transfers. Will Slot have a say so? Absolutely. I'm sure he's going to have a say so. It's like, hey, what do you think about this guy? Yeah, maybe not. Okay. What do you think about selling this guy? We can make a profit. I can get you two other younger guys who can move up the ranks right there for the same amount of money. Sure. Okay. That means if it deepens, it goes squad depth. Absolutely. But I do think that he's going to have a say so. But really, Slot's role is equivalent to what Pep's role is right now in his side. It's managing the team, getting fitness, getting all of his physio people straight, doing all that process through there. He's not Klopp, and he's not going to be Klopp. I mean, so I think that as a lot of us right there who are looking for that Klopp type figure, it's not happening anymore. That's done. That's a wrap.
Talking about Klopp-like figures and a wrap, let's move on to the game against Wolves. We can slot that conversation away for another day. But we have this final game at Anfield. I don't think anybody cares what the score ends up being. I'm sure we all hope we win. But it's going to be one long 90-plus minute goodbye. Trevor, I'm not an emotional guy in general. Maybe when we had to put my cat to sleep, and maybe when we won the league under Klopp, and then that time I stood on a Lego. But this is going to be, and it wasn't Mikel Arteta. It wasn't Mikel Arteta, unfortunately. But this is going to be one long emotional goodbye for 90-plus minutes on Sunday, isn't it? Probably longer than that.
Yeah, and as a person who is a habitual crier, I'm going to go out in public because that is my only barrier to being a waterworks, because my overall my well-being, I'm like, if I go out in public, I'm not going to be a blubbering mess. If I stay home, I'm going to sit there, and every time they pan to him, I'm going to get that Indian that saw the litter tear, and it's just going to start flowing, and it's not going to be great. So that is, yeah, it's going to be an emotional time, and there's just so much that you're going to hear people tell their stories of their favorite moments of him, and then as you hear the more like personal ones, I've already gone through a few where there's some real tear jerkers where you're just going, oh God, this is, you see Jurgen as most human, and you just going, oh God, I can't handle this. I don't want this day to come, because now all of these memories and all of these stories are just going to come crashing down as a tsunami of emotion, and you're going to try to just well, for me, anything, I'm going to try to repress that as much as I possibly can, probably to no avail. But I just hope that the club, wherever it's being shown on television, I haven't checked that yet, because I know for the last day they kind of just
Peacock.
spread everything out.
It's on Peacock.
Well, then I hope that when they show him being emotional, it buffers extra long so I can kind of just take that moment in.
It will at my house.
Yeah, I was going to say, just watch it at Brian's house.
But that's the rub with Peacock. It's everybody's house. You could have the best run internet on the planet, and at that moment where there's a cross coming in the 75th minute, you're gonna get that pinwheel, no matter what. Yeah. In the end, I hope that I'm like you said, the score doesn't really matter. Third place is secured. There's no real people that need to come back from an injury, and the last thing to kind of just show off for the new manager. things are going to just kind of pick themselves.
Um,
I just hope this is a fitting send off.
Brian, is there any? Oh, sorry, Trevor.
No. I wasn't saying anything of substance.
Okay. Brian, is there any particular players you think will get their start on Sunday? I'm sure if Matip was fit enough to play, he'd be there somewhere along the lines. I won't say the same for Thiago because fitness and Thiago don't exist in the same universe. But of the current fit squad, is there anybody you think is definitely going to play and is definitely going to be part of the send-off? And then, get their round of applause, at the 60th, 70th, 80th minute when they get taken off.
I want Adrian to play. Honestly, I want Adrian to play right there. This be his last time right there going on there. I mean, he won the Super Cup for us. I mean, there's things that he did for us, and this will be it for him. There's some people like that. I want Jaden Dance to play. I want kids to play. I want people who contribute to all these years right there. Hell, if we could come there and bring some of the past players back, it'd be fantastic. But we can't right there. I mean, I want to see Bobby Firmino one more time right there. That type of stuff right there. But I just want anybody that's ever contributed right there who's in our current squad to get that chance. To get on the pitch right there. The people who who he believed in. I mean, like Trent. I mean, Trent's gonna play. Trent's mom comes there and talks to Klopp. I mean, come on. I mean, so many tear jerking stories right there. With it. I mean, I just want anybody. I want them all to go in there to have a good send off. Because we're not gonna see some of these people ever again. Or we're not gonna see them in a red kit ever again. So of course, by one player, I want to see Adrian play, or I want to see Kelleher play. It's a good chance that both of them won't be here next year.
Throw Adrian up front. Do the old Stephen Cocker. Let's go.
No, but to be fair though, if Adrian gets a goal before Joe Gomez does, then Joe Gomez should just retire from football if that happens.
I think it's fair. If we get the West Brom Adrian header, Joe Gomez should have to go play in like Kazakhstan or something.
No, he should be like George from George from Seinfeld. Good night, I'm done. See you next year. Just Trevor, to bring me on to that question, will Joe Gomez get his goal? Will Salah get the 2 that he needs? I think he needs to get to 20 goals. Is that what I'm thinking of? Or will Nunez score an open goal?
Might be that Nunez hat trick coming.
In terms of probability, Mo getting his goals, I think that's a top level probability. Nunez scoring a sitter, 2. Gomez, I think Gomez getting a goal is below the Adrian West Brom header. I just, if he didn't get this one this past week where he tried to be that adventurer, then he's never going to. I will reside to that fact that Joe Gomez will be nil pois in the goal column heading into 2024-2025.
Hey, I just want to say that we went past 50 minutes right there without mentioning Nunez's name. So that's a record for our Thursday night podcast.
That's true. But also, wouldn't it be ironic if Joe Gomez scored the first goal of the Arne Slot regime?
Yo, what if it was like a Joe Gomez hat trick?
Now, here's before
now I'm just speaking lunacy.
For anybody who's watching and waiting, there's no fantasy show tonight, and just as well, given StreamYard's issues. But here's the final question before we go. It's almost the threshold question for both of you, Brian and Trevor. Will Anand be on next week to fulfill his promise of eating all the donuts?
He better. I think that, we talked about this right there with Anand. Anand made this bet right there about Thiago's scoring. right there. If people aren't familiar with it, he made a bet right there that, and I was actually on there tight that I'll bet you a dozen 6 donuts if Thiago doesn't that Thiago will not score this season. He said, "Well, I'll eat a dozen." I said, "Okay, it's a bet." So Thiago did nothing. I don't think Thiago even play.
Hey,
past December?
10 minutes.
His 13 minutes was
Yeah.
legendary.
Okay, so with Nod right there, in my opinion, pay the piper, man. Pay the piper.
Trevor, what do you think? Will he show up or will he have a prior appointment?
Oh, he'll show up. He's a man of integrity, and we'll be eating along with him. We will not be in the pure agony that he will be, forcing the amount of donuts down his gullet that he will be. But we'll be sitting here just casually popping a glazed or two down the gullet as we watch him struggle. And we'll just pepper him with Darwin facts over the course of the broadcast.
I don't think it's won't just be a man of integrity. He'll be a man of diabetes at the end of it.
Man, we can pepper with Slavo facts. Let's see, Thiago facts, Darwin facts. There's so many facts that we could get. We could talk with it on about.
He would be the Wilfred Brimley of American Scouser TV by the time we're finished with him.
He's great. And he won't. And we will not have a revival of Cocoon for him to star in.
Alan Shamps thought he told us I've already taken one for the team. I took 6 of them for the team, in fact, if I remember correctly. In 7 minutes, no less. Have that, Joey Chestnut.
He did it during the closing.
Yeah.
He did it while me and Brian filibustered about score predictions.
It was great. That's how you make a show, people. That just brings me it's time to say goodbye in the Ringo Starr style. Good night. We have our morning coffee tomorrow morning, and I'm sure there'll be a pre and in a very emotional post-match on Sunday for the game against Wolves. Score predictions, nobody cares. That's the score prediction. We just want to say
7-1.
One last goodbye. with 2 Nunes hat-tricks. And Joe Gomez scores the 1, but it's for Wolves.
Oh, goal.
Joe Gomez finally scores it. It's up for Wolves.
That would be just the way. That would be the way. But before all that happens, you got to make sure that you follow us on the YouTube and on the Facebook and the Instagram and X, formerly known as Twitter, formerly known as Prince, formerly known as Symbol. And then also our Patreon, which has all the goodies, the extra stuff that is so vital to your life and existence, which you should be getting on. But for us, finally, after many, many times of trying this evening and finally getting it right, thank you, StreamYard.
Hey, don't forget right there, Instagram right there, or subscribe right there, get that Jurgen Klopp
signed jersey. That Jurgen Klopp signed jersey. You have to sign up on Instagram for that one. There's no 2 ways around it.
Do all the things that the post tells you to do, and you could get the signed jersey of that very smiley man. That do what you want with.
And it is a genuine signed Jurgen Klopp jersey, and not just Timuchin writing in his left hand. Just so nobody knows, but it's a fantastic prize. But for us, we've got next week. Who knows what happens after that? Because we have the Euros to go. But for at least next week, we will see you then for hopefully Anand's donating and our Brian's christening of his very first proper internet stream. There you go. We've got all the excitement there.
Hey, fiber internet next week. No more.
I was gonna say, I just love that Alan said splash that like button. I'm just
Flash it now, just like the floods in Houston.
I'm gonna fucking Jimmy Snuka this right now and just come off.
So, but at least for the last time in the Klopp era, it's time to say goodbye and have some good old-fashioned 70s power music vibes. Peace out, everybody, and enjoy the game on Sunday.